It was a cold afternoon in Seoul, the kind where the wind bites at your cheeks and reminds you that winter is coming. The city was alive with movement, yet there was a certain stillness in the air, as if the world was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. I pulled my coat tighter, feeling both the chill of the season and the quiet anticipation of the unknown. I found refuge in a quiet cafe, its windows fogged from the warmth inside. As I wrapped my hands around a steaming cup of tea, I let my thoughts drift back to my silent hometown in Hisan. The memories were bittersweet, echoes of laughter, the hush of snow falling on empty streets, and the ever-present sense of longing for something more. The cafe's gentle hum was a comforting contrast to the silence I once knew. Suddenly, the door opened, and a young woman stepped in. Her North Korean accent was unmistakable, and her eyes, wide and searching, held a storm of emotions: fear, hope, and a flicker of determination. She hesitated for a moment, scanning the room as if searching for a safe harbor. She approached my table and quietly asked if she could sit. I nodded, sensing an instant connection, an unspoken understanding that went beyond words. There was a vulnerability in her voice, but also a quiet strength that drew me in. Her name was June. She had escaped North Korea just months before, surviving unimaginable hardships, hunger, fear, and the constant threat of being caught. Each word she spoke carried the weight of her journey, and I listened, humbled by her resilience. As she shared her story, I noticed the subtle scars of indoctrination in her mannerisms, but also the wonder in her eyes at the simplest freedoms: choosing a drink from a menu, laughing without restraint, speaking her mind without fear of consequence. These small acts, so ordinary to many, were extraordinary to her. For June, every detail of life in South Korea was a miracle, a world of possibilities she had only dreamed of. For me, her awe was a powerful reminder of all I once took for granted, and of the invisible privileges woven into daily life. Our shared past created a silent bond, a deep understanding that only those who have lived through such experiences can truly know. In that moment, words were almost unnecessary. Our stories spoke for us, connecting us across the divide of time and trauma. That meeting changed me forever. It reminded me of the strength found in connection and the hope that can blossom even in the coldest of winters. As we sat together in that softly lit cafe, the world outside seemed distant, almost unreal. I found myself growing more curious, wanting to understand what June truly believed about the world beyond the tightly controlled borders of North Korea. Our conversation drifted, but my mind kept circling back to the same question. In our homeland, America is painted as the ultimate enemy, the root of all our suffering and hardship. From childhood, we are taught to fear and despise it, to blame it for every difficulty we face. I hesitated, feeling the weight of years of propaganda pressing down on us both. Then, in a low voice, I quietly asked, "June, what do you really think about America?" She looked at me, her eyes wide with confusion, as if the question itself was something foreign, something she had never been allowed to consider. In North Korea, you're never asked for your opinion, only told what to think, what to believe, and how to feel. Independent thought is discouraged, even dangerous. The silence between us grew heavy, stretching out as the quiet hum of the cafe filled the space. The clinking of cups and distant laughter seemed to fade into the background. She stared down at her trembling hands, her fingers nervously tracing the rim of her coffee cup. It was clear she was deeply unsettled, struggling to find the right words. In that moment, I realized I wasn't just asking about a country. I was asking her to confront a lifetime of indoctrination, to question everything she had ever been taught. Back home, a question like this could have been dangerous, even life-threatening. It was the kind of thing you never dared to say aloud. I waited, heart pounding, knowing that whatever she said next would reveal more than words ever could, about her, about us, and about the invisible chasm we were trying to cross. After a long silence, June finally whispered, "Wolves." That was all. No slogans, no propaganda, just one word, heavy with fear. In her mind, Americans weren't people. They were predators, monsters lurking in the dark. She explained how teachers showed her drawings of blue-eyed soldiers with sharp teeth, how stories of wolves were passed down as truth. Even in Seoul, she spoke as if the wolves were just outside the door. Her terror was raw, a product of years of indoctrination. The regime hadn't just controlled her actions, they'd stolen her ability to see others as human. Seeing her so convinced that an entire nation was inhuman broke my heart. It was a stark reminder of the invisible prison she still carried. The fear was real, and it was devastating. Jun's answer, wolves, was powerful in its simplicity. I expected political slogans, but she gave me a primal image, pure, predatory evil. To believe a whole people are wolves is to live in constant fear, unable to empathize. The regime's control is total. If you fear monsters, you cling to your protector. Jun's fear wasn't anger, it was the sorrow of a lamb among wolves. For her generation, the fiery hatred had faded into a quiet, inherited terror. Her word was a mirror, reflecting my own past beliefs and the lies I once accepted. It reminded me of the millions still trapped in that mental cage. The pain of that realization was overwhelming. To understand Jun's fear, you must understand North Korea's world. There's no internet, no outside news, only state propaganda glorifying the Kim family and demonizing America. From birth, reality is constructed for you. Questioning is unthinkable. The education system teaches absolute devotion to the regime and hatred for the US. History is rewritten, and every hardship is blamed on American wolves. The regime is never at fault. The dear leader is the only protector. This constant propaganda becomes your truth, as real as the ground beneath your feet. For Jun, Americans as wolves wasn't a metaphor. It was a literal, terrifying fact. She had no reason to doubt it. There was no other voice but the state's. Her fear was the intended result of a perfectly executed system of brainwashing. That cafe conversation changed me. I knew the propaganda, but seeing Jun's fear made it painfully real. Escaping North Korea is more than crossing a border. Freeing your mind is a longer journey. This encounter reminded me of the power of human connection. Travel isn't just about places, it's about people who challenge your worldview. Across from Jun, we were just two people, building a bridge over a chasm of misunderstanding. Her answer didn't make me angry, it gave me purpose. The antidote to propaganda is truth, shared through honest conversation. By sharing my story, I could help her see Americans as people, not wolves. The most important journey is toward understanding, one that starts with listening. In a divided world, it's easy to forget the humanity of those we label as others. We see lines drawn on maps, fences rising between neighborhoods, and headlines that highlight our differences. But behind every barrier, there are real people, each with hopes, fears, and dreams not so different from our own. Jun's story is a warning about the dangers of walls, both the ones we build with our hands and the ones we construct in our minds. These barriers can keep us apart, fueling misunderstanding and suspicion. But I learned that no wall is too high for honest conversation. When we choose to reach out, even across the widest divides, we discover that connection is always possible. Listening is an act of kindness. It says, "I see you. Your story matters." When we truly listen, we offer a gift: our attention, our empathy, and our willingness to understand. True listening breaks down stereotypes and reveals our shared humanity. It allows us to see past labels and recognize the person beneath. Empathy is the only weapon against hatred. When we listen with open hearts, we disarm fear and replace it with compassion. These stories are everywhere, if we have the courage to ask and the patience to listen. Every person you meet carries a story that can change your perspective, if only you take the time to hear it. My meeting with Jun ended with hope. A seed of doubt planted, a new perspective gained. Even a single conversation can be the beginning of change, opening doors that once seemed locked. One day the walls will fall, and we must meet each other with understanding, not judgment. The future depends on our willingness to listen, to forgive, and to build bridges where there were once barriers. In the end, it's these small acts of listening and kindness that will heal our world and banish the fear of wolves forever. Every act of empathy, every moment of true listening, brings us one step closer to a world united by hope.